Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Bait and Switch. Once upon a time, like many people after the new year, I joined Planet Fitness with my girlfriend, now wife. We did not go to the gym, and discontinued now that we had a gym membership. After a year or so of not going to the gym, we decided to go in one day, just for something to do. They wouldn't let us in, because the card that we used for my wife's membership had expired, and our account was due over $100. They agreed that we could go in as long as we got it under 100. We paid the remaining amount and cancelled her membership, switching mine to a premium membership so that we could both get on using mine. After probably another year of them collecting my money for little in return, I joined the army as a way to escape the ever-rising cost of family health insurance. I thought, this is great. Now I have a reason to work out. And I used my Planet Fitness premium membership that lets us use any of their gyms around the country. However, upon moving to our first duty station, I found that I worked out every morning with a group of people outside. And there are several gyms on base, usually nicer than our Planet Fitness. So I ran to cancel my membership, and here's where they really set me off. Oh, you have to cancel in person at your home gym, or by writing a cancellation letter via first-class mail to your home gym. The problem was that my home gym was over 700 miles away, and I didn't want to wait long enough for them to get the letter and process it. I left and began my Planet Fitness contract research. Armed with knowledge, I returned to the closest store the next day. Good morning, sir. Oh, good morning. Can you help me out? I don't necessarily want to pay for the black membership anymore, but my home gym is in Ohio. Can I change my home gym to this location? Of course, sir. I'd be happy to assist you. Once all the exchanging of information had been completed, I dropped the bomb. Is there anything else I can help you with? Yes, actually. Since this is my home gym now, I'd like to go ahead and cancel my membership. Her jaw actually dropped. She called her manager to give the overrides or whatever he needed to do. He got the whole story, looked at me, and said that I would have to wait 24 hours, since I just changed my home gym. I obliged his request and came back the next day. I'm happy to say that it's been almost 5 years since my last gym membership. The next story is called After Every Call. I worked for a petty, fragile man years ago. He loved to micromanage, and always wanted to know if I talked to anyone higher in management than he was. This by itself wasn't a problem, as I understand chains of command and follow them. The crux of the issue was that he had to know every detail of every conversation, and he wanted to dictate what they were told when they reached out to us. I was in a unique situation because I have specialized education, which was very useful to top management. Because of this, they called me directly, frequently, every day of the week, and at all hours. The baby boss had a huge problem with this, because he wanted to control the technical information that I provided the big boss when he called with questions. I tried my best to loop baby boss in when these calls occurred, but big boss wanted me to speak freely, and didn't want to wait for someone else to get on the call. Often, baby boss would call big boss after we spoke to try and take credit for what I told them, even though it was well known that he didn't have the same understanding that I did. Baby boss then demanded I call him every time big boss called me, and wanted a full recounting of our conversations. I followed his directions to the T. If big boss called me at 2 AM with a question, baby boss got a call at 2:15, but with a rambling retelling of our conversation, which often exceeded the length of the first call. After a few weeks, baby boss got tired, literally, of being woken up at all hours. He then demanded that I send him an email after every call with every detail. So I did that. I created these emails that would rival a high schooler who had an assignment with a minimum word count. I'd sprinkle the important information in between long, flowing sentences, so he was forced to read the whole thing if he wanted to know what I really spoke about. This ultimately resulted in baby boss relenting, and just asking for a brief recap in person during the next business day. Soon after, the budget people were very concerned about why I had huge amounts of overtime at odd hours, and I explained the direction I was given. Baby boss was eventually disciplined and was forced out. due in large part because of everything that happened with me. The last story is called Private Property. I used to work for a supermarket chain, and quite often I'd be asked by management to work at other locations. Most of the time, this wasn't a big deal. I was happy to help out. It gave me an excuse to drive and have the petrol paid for. However, one day, I was asked to work at a location very far away at a very early hour of the morning. I initially refused on the grounds that I would have to wake up at around 2 AM in order to be on site for 5 AM. After some armbanding from management, I finally relented and begrudgingly agreed I would do it. Due to the drive not taking nearly as long as I initially expected, I arrived on location at about 4:30 AM. I waited in my car with the music playing. At 4:50 AM, I get a loud knock on the car window, nearly making me jump out of my skin. It was the manager for that store, who, never seeing me before, did not know who I was. "You need to leave. This is private property." "Oh, but..." the manager interrupted me. "I don't care. Go. Now." I quickly realized that I can play this to my advantage. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I don't want any problems." "Of course I'll go right away. Sorry." And as per his request, I drove home with a smile on my face, knowing that I had the rest of the day free to myself. A few hours later, I get a phone call. I answer the unrecognized number, and I recognized the voice immediately. It was the manager who told me to leave. "Hello, I'm looking for X." "Hi, yeah, that's me. This is the manager calling from this location. I was expecting you to work with me today. You should have been here for 5 AM. I tried to sound casual. "Yeah, I was there waiting in my car. You told me to leave, remember? But you didn't say..." Now I interrupted him. There are no ifs or buts. I was on private property and was asked to leave. I was legally obliged to do so. "Right, but don't you think..." I interrupted again. "It doesn't matter what I thought. I was asked to leave private property. I'm not going to break the law and risk getting in trouble with the police." It was at this point he hung up on me. I expected to get in trouble for what had happened, but I never heard anything more about it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.